One was enough. It's not
No, I
true.
thought you were going to say, it takes two to make
Takes
things
two
go
of
right.
you.
It takes two to make you out of sight.
I think
That,
we're live over
no,
there.
mine doesn't say live.
No, it does.
Oh,
We're live. Oh,
okay,
Lord.
well, we're live. Hi, welcome to the Mighty. My name is AnnMarie. I'm here with I almost said my gal pal.
It's fine. That's great. I've been called worse.
My pal Gabe. We are here to have a conversation about mental health and the intersection with religion. Sounds super deep.
Yeah, man.
Don't you think?
I do.
Don't you think
things related to mental health and religion tend to be.
Yeah.
God, where do we start?
Well, I just want you to know that just now it told me I was live. So anyways, so religion and mental health. The reason why I thought this would be a good topic is because I saw a post on, social media, because we all know whatever happens on social media is real. That's sarcasm, if anyone doesn't know me. And it said this person had put a post up that they were struggling. They were having a lot of anxiety. Work was really hard. The kids were, summer's coming up, and the person was just stressed. Okay. And somebody wrote underneath it, I hope that you are using your faith and praying so that you can get through it. Now, hold on. Before we get hate mail, I am in awe of people who have blind faith. I truly am. I think it's a beautiful thing for them. I really, really do. Going through a cancer diagnosis, I had plenty of people that would say to me, pray, I'm praying for you, I'm praying for you. That's great. Praying is a beautiful thing. It is not my personal thing. I am a spiritual person, but it doesn't pray things away.
Yeah. So sometimes I think about, so I often talk on here about the work I used to do working on an inpatient psychiatric unit. Mm-hmm. And there is, are you familiar with RAP? AnnMarie, WRAP? Not rap,
no,
not rap.
I thought you meant rap music.
No, that's RAP.
Yeah.
So it's Wellness Recovery Action Plan.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So there was a group at the hospital. It was run by an allied therapist and a peer specialist, and it was a Wellness Recovery Action Plan group. And they talked about different tools that you would put in your wellness recovery toolkit. Okay. And so it could be creative writing, and it could be medication, and it could be meditation, and it could be therapy. Any number of these things that are helpful. Prayer and religion and spirituality and some kind of connection to a faith-based community, that certainly has a place in your, wellness recovery action plan, right? I mean, that has absolutely a legitimate place in that toolkit if that applies to you. Mm-hmm. However, I think where we run into a problem is when you have people who posit that that's the only thing,
right?
That faith is the only thing, and that that must supplant medication, and that must supplant relationships with certified clinicians, and other therapeutic modalities. You can't pray mental illness away.
No, just like you can't pray cancer away.
Exactly. And so, can faith be a component of recovery? Absolutely.
100%.
Is it the end all be all? Yeah, I don't think so.
No, but I also think that you can't add it to your toolbox if it's not something that you really truly believe in.
Oh, God,
you have to believe in it. Just like I have to believe in whatever tool I'm using, I have to believe in it, and I have to use it and practice it. If I don't practice that, it's not going to work. I think the destructive part of it is when, I've heard people say, well, do you have prayer? That just because I have prayer doesn't mean that I'm not going to have mental health challenges. And that goes for people who have serious, beautiful faith. Just because you have faith doesn't mean that your challenges are going to go away. That's beautiful that you have faith. I love that. But just remember that is just one thing that you are using. And I'm sure it does help people. I'm sure of it. It's not curing anything. I think the bigger picture is that, and maybe I'll get, a little heat for this, but you don't cure a mental illness. Like, that doesn't go away, not with a pill, not with therapy. When you have a mental illness, schizophrenia, bipolar, borderline personality disorder, living with depression, that doesn't go away. You work at that every single day to get you through the day.
That's just about managing it. It's about living with it, right? It's not about, curing it. So Jennifer asked us if we can talk about religion and stigma. And I would be delighted to dip my toe into those waters. Me too.
I love that we're going there.
So, okay. And I think we can only speak to our own particular situations rather than make kind of generalities.
Wait, before you go into this, Gabe, let's just preface this. This is based on our experiences. We are not professionals. These are from living with a mental illness, for caring for people with a mental illness. We are not professionals. This is based on our personal opinions, and it's not the opinions of the mighty either. Let me just say that as well.
It's so true.
Brave enough to put us on this live.
Yeah, for now. I'm Jewish. I know it's really a surprise to people when I say it. But in certain sects of the Jewish community, there is a stigma, I believe, around mental illness. And I'm particularly talking about Orthodox communities. So, why is there fear or reluctance or trepidation in the Orthodox communities to talk about mental health challenges? Right. Well, when you're one of the primary goals of being a member of the Orthodox Jewish community is marrying off your children, right? And so if there's a mental illness in the family, well, then the child is not as attractive to future spouses. And these are usually arranged marriages, right? And different cultures throughout the world still have arranged marriages. And so a lot of times attempts are made to hide the fact that a child has a mental health challenge. In fact, there are psychiatrists who will work kind of on the sly with Orthodox families. The rabbi will kind of surreptitiously find mental health professionals who will see people off the record and, will you come over and see my son? Don't talk about it. Don't tell anyone. And it creates this kind of blanket of shame where you can't talk about it. And it's this poo, don't tempt the evil eye. There's a lot of superstition in kind of that culture where things are suppressed and things are hidden for a kind of very nefarious reason, to marry people off while really lying about their mental wellness, right? It's pretty disturbing, actually, when you think about it.
If anyone needs any cliff notes for Gabe's words, just let us know. We'll put them in the footer afterwards.
We'll just type them in, yeah.
I totally agree with you. But see, my brain went somewhere completely different. And everything you said, I was like, yep, So I'm a Reformed Catholic. That's what I like to call myself. God forbid if my father's watching this, but I am. I'm a Reformed Catholic. I was raised Catholic in an Italian Catholic household, and going through my mental health as a teen, it was not pretty. It was totally hidden. It was, the church we could never talk about that in religion class or, in school, because I went to a Catholic school. But since it's Pride Month, I think there's a lot of stigma being Catholic and being LGBTQ. I mean, how do you expect that this group, and I'm going to say group, and I'll probably get shit for that, but the LGBTQ community needs support, right? And if you're raised Catholic, Jewish, whatever, and it's not accepted in your religion, how do you get through that? How do you get through that with all the other challenges that are implemented? And suicide amongst the LGBTQ community is huge. It's a major, major issue. Huge. So the stigma there is immense.
Well, let's talk about suicide for a moment and religion. A couple of years ago, I made a film that AnnMarie was in. It's called A Beautiful Day Tomorrow. And
I did not get to wear my tiara, by the way.
It was a road trip film, and it was a bunch of interviews with people who have had experience with either suicide attempts or suicide loss. The first person that I interviewed was my father. And my father's sister killed herself in 2004 in Israel. She was in a psychiatric hospital in Israel, and she took her own life at the facility. My father flew to Israel, and his surviving brother and sister flew to Israel from Australia, where they were living, to deal with the aftermath of this.
Mhm.
And
Because I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
so what I mean by that is the aftermath part of that was, how do we bury Rena in the general population of a cemetery where, so in Santiago is saying here exactly what I'm talking about. Suicide is still considered a mortal sin that earns eternal condemnation in traditional Catholic faith.
Exactly.
Well, in the Jewish faith, particularly among the more kind of harder core branches, same exact thing. There are certain sections of cemeteries, Jewish cemeteries, that are fenced off for people who take their own lives. Yep. They're not permitted to be buried with the general population. And so my father and his brother and sister had to lie, manipulate, get the coroner to write a certain document that said, okay, well, Rena was so sick, she didn't actually know what she was doing, and she died as a result of her illness. She didn't die of suicide. Had to really bullshit their way through it to get her buried with the general population. So how fucked up is that?
It's completely messed up.
That religion, this thing that says, we love you and we are all inclusive and we embrace you no matter who you are, what you do. Bullshit. Unless you take your own life, unless you're a man who loves a man or a woman who loves a woman, or unless you're this, that, unless you have tattoos, okay, in the Jewish faith, you also can't be buried with the general population because it's defacing your.
I can't be a Jew now.
That's it. I'm sorry. It's off the table, AnnMarie. But so that it really burns me up. It really, really does.
Shoot, I just was going to say something when you were saying all that, and now it went right out of my ever-loving brain.
Cemeteries.
And it's not, so we always say, right, 1 in 5 have a mental illness, and 1, 2, 3, and 4 are caring for the person with a mental illness. So essentially, we all have a mental illness. How does that affect the families afterwards? They're trying to grieve the loss of their loved one who died by suicide, who was so sick that they chose to kill themselves because they saw no other way to end their pain. Okay. And maybe they're feeling guilt over that because they didn't reach out enough. Maybe they feel guilt because they didn't listen to the signs or see the signs. And now their loved one is buried outside of where their family is. Oh, the pain of that is pretty tremendous. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I got it.
She's got it. She's got it.
Jesus walked with people had leprosy. He walked with Mary Magdalene, who wasn't married, and that was a big deal back then. He reached out to, what was his name? The guy who lied.
The one who betrayed him?
Yes, the one who betrayed him. He still said he loved him. He was so accepting and so loving. I mean,
why can't I think of his name? Oh my God.
Pontius Pilate. He was so loving. That is
Judas.
Oh, Judas. Who was Pontius Pilate?
Well, Pontius Pilate was the ruler of Rome who had him executed. Ted and I are on it.
Yeah, thanks, Ted. Woo, Ted. Anyways, my point is, this man named Jesus was so forgiving and so loving and so accepting. Shouldn't that be the basis of religion? That's why, dude, I get it. There was this guy named Jesus and he was incredible. He must have been a motivational speaker.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. Anyways, he was kind.
You just see him giving a TED talk. Sorry.
He was kind. Maybe he gave a TED talk. He was kind and loving and forgiving and accepting. And that to me is so beautiful. And that is how religion should be based and how religion should be accepting into mental health, physical health. I don't care what your gender, your race, your sexuality, whatever. That is the base of it. And that is where we should be. It just is. And
yeah, but so the cynical piece of me really thinks, of course,
be cynical.
It's true. I view religion very much as an exclusionary thing, as a way to kind of other people. Well, we're here doing this, and you're not. You're over there doing that, and I feel it very keenly with Judaism. Well, there are the people who walk to synagogue on Shabbat, and we're doing it right, and you're not. There are the people who eat kosher. Oh, you eat shrimp and you eat bacon? Oh my God. There's no room for you do you. It's very, very judgmental. And people with serious and persistent mental health challenges are no strangers to being othered.
Right.
And they're no strangers to feeling like they're on the outside looking in. And if we truly had religious institutions that were what they say they are, which is about bringing people in and embracing people for who they are, I think that people would feel much less on the outside looking in, feel much more accepted. Sorry, yes. I have reflux. I'm drinking too much coffee today. Sorry.
Oh my God, TMI. As you're talking, it made me think of something. One thing we always talk about is breaking the stigma and, making a change and blah, blah, blah. I don't think that religion and the stigma around it with mental health is for our generation. That has to be the younger kids coming through. They need to change it. I mean, they just really do, because we are that much closer to our parents who were so set in all of those, everything that you just said. Our kids have to make that change. Our kids have to stand up and say, I love God, I love whatever, however they want to express their faith. I pray every day. I go to church 3 times a day, and I accept everybody. And I am a safe place for you to come to if you need to talk to someone. They need to make the change. I mean, they just do, because there's no way this is going to change because of old laws. I mean, these are old. You're talking, religion is old, people. It is old.
Religion is old, people. You heard it here first.
Oh, come on. I had a comma there.
No. I know you did. So maybe 2 years ago, I was at Immaculata University giving a talk. And Immaculata Catholic College, lots of nuns walking around, looking hip. And I had my Herbie the Love Bug replica was parked outside, and it has the number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline there on the rear window. And I used the car for advocacy purposes. And an elderly nun, she must have been close to 80, kind of walked up to the car and was just kind of like peering at it around the front. And then she walked around to the back, and she just stood there. And I was watching her, and I was like, how's this interaction going to go? I don't know. And she just put her hand up to her mouth, and tears are coming down her face. And I went up to her and I said, sister, are you okay? And she said, my brother killed himself around 50 years ago. And she said, we have to do better. We have to do better in the church. We have to do better. We have to be able to talk about this. And I was just blown away by this woman. And she could have said anything to me, and she could have said nothing. She could have just walked away quietly. But that understanding, even if she's not in a place to implement it, like she's not going to get up in front of the student body of Immaculata and give a talk about her brother, probably, but that seed is planted. That seed of change is planted, and that grows. I really believe that. She
felt comfortable enough to say something to you about it, and that just makes me wonder, like, how many people know that about her? Who knows that part of her? She felt comfortable enough to say it, and I don't want to. I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud. I don't want to be like on here bashing religion. That's not what neither one of us wants to do.
Nope.
I think there was a comment up there about balance, and praying is part of balance. Like, I totally get it. Add it to your toolbox if that's something you want to try. Some people find a lot of comfort in parts of the scripture, or in sitting in a church silently. I mean, I know people that have really felt a lot of comfort there. Add it, but add it along with going to your therapist, going to a support group, taking your medication, taking care of yourself, checking in with your people to make sure that they know, that you are in a good place, or maybe you're in a bad place. Add it to the list. Just don't use it like it's going to be the be all end all, because it can't. And truth be told, none of those things are the be all end all.
That's
Not
right.
one of them is. You need more than one thing to help you get through all different moments. I mean, come on, people. Have you ever been in a crowded area and all of a sudden you feel that panic attack coming on? You feel it coming on. You can feel it. You start sweating. Your palms are sweating. Your heart starts racing. You think you're going to have a heart attack. That is not the exact right time for you to like sit down in the middle of the floor with your legs crossed, doing some yoga move. You have to have different tools to help you in different situations. And if you don't practice them every day, when you're in that crowded room or event or wherever you are, church, wherever, the fair, which I cannot wait to go to, if you're in any of those places, you have the right tool to help you through it. That's what this is about. But please do not tell me I can pray away my mental health, because I cannot. If I could, I would. And I will tell you, I had a very good friend, and I know this mental health and cancer aren't the same thing. Like, I get it, but I want to just put this statement out there. 34 years old, dying of metastatic breast cancer, never been married, never had kids, dying. And someone sends her a message and says, maybe you didn't pray enough. And she took it as, my beautiful friend took it as, if I prayed, would this cure me? Would I be okay? Do people who pray not die of metastatic cancer? Think about that statement. Think about it. And I don't want to see one comment there where someone says, well, people don't say that. People say that all the time.
Sure.
It felt like she wasn't a good enough person because she didn't pray.
Yeah, you're not a good enough person. You're not a good enough Catholic, Jew, Muslim, Hindu, whatever you are. You're not doing it right.
Right.
And that's a way to weaponize faith, which is an appalling thing to do. Another thing that people do, I think, without realizing it. So if you're in a situation where you're talking to someone and someone reveals to you that they're having thoughts of suicide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't you know that God loves you?
Oh, there it is.
Oh, it's just, first of all, you're operating under a false assumption that that individual believes in God,
Right.
Which you don't know if they do or not.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, you don't speak for God.
Absolutely.
And third of all, fuck you. That's third of all.
Let it be known that Gabe says the F word more than AnnMarie.
Anybody weaponize faith like that and try to guilt?
Well, someone just wrote it. Guilt. It's a huge issue in religion. 100%.
I mean, it's horrifying.
It is 100% horrifying. And truthfully, when you're in that dark space and you are talking about suicide to the point where you have a plan and it's very real, you can tell me, Justin Bieber loves me and I'm not going to care. Is that a little creepy?
Do you think he does?
I don't know.
Do you think he's watching right now?
Maybe. Someone tag Justin Bieber in this.
If you're watching, drop a comment.
My point is it doesn't matter when you're that dark and that makes you feel worse. I can remember explicitly coming out of the hospital and having so many people say to me, your kids love you. Your father loves you. You have so many friends. Why are you feeling this way? You know what it did instantly? Instantly. I was like, crap. If I feel like this, I must really be a burden to them. How could they possibly love me when I'm feeling like this? I felt so much guilt. It was consuming. So now you're adding God, right? And let's switch it, Gabe. You said that person might not have believed in God. What if they did? And
Right.
You say to that person, well, God loves you. Now, you know what? That's their higher being, and they feel such guilt from it. Now, don't get me wrong. It's beautiful that God loves you. Jesus loves you. Whoever loves you. That's beautiful. But you need to get that person through the moment that they're feeling a burden and non-existent. And you just need to remember that. That's not telling you that someone loves you isn't going to stop them from having those thoughts. It just isn't. Yeah. So I don't know, Gabe. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
And, I saw a couple comments in there, and we get this all the time, right? Talking's hard. You're right. Talking is completely hard. Riding a bike was really hard the first time I tried it. And then I got it, sort of.
You know what's even harder than talking is staying silent. And I've done both. And
I was actually going to say, what's even harder than talking is going to that person's funeral.
That's right. That's right. But I lived over half my life shutting up, never saying anything, never speaking about how I was feeling, shoving everything down, repressing, suppressing, oppressing myself, abusing myself. That's hard. That's hard. Right. Waking up every morning and then doing that again and again and again and again because 100%. You're scared of what people are going to say. Okay, so I have to stop right here because there's a comment that I need to respond to immediately. Michael Bellini, let's put that comment up here. Only cowards kill themselves.
Oh, God.
If they are responsible, I'm assuming that's a typo, for little souls. So you're looking at a coward.
You're looking at two cowards.
No, that's right. I have twins. They're right downstairs right now. You know nothing about mental health. You know nothing about cowardice or bravery if you think that individuals who are on the precipice of taking their own lives are cowards, whether they have children, whether they have spouses, whether they have parents who are living. It doesn't matter who you have in your life. It means nothing when your mind is telling you that you are a burden.
And that their lives would be better without you.
That there is no hope, that there is no help. That is a pathetic, ignorant, asinine, stigmatizing, fucked up thing to say. Get a clue, get educated. I'm stunned that you're here and you would make that kind of comment.
Yeah.
I'm done with you. AnnMarie, if you have anything else you'd like to add, go for it.
No, you said everything that I would have said and more. I think one thing we need to understand is when we see comments like that, guess what? You just made talking even harder because you make us feel as though we are a coward. I'm a 2-time suicide survivor. I wasn't a coward at any of those moments. Having those pills in my hand was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But I believed in my gut that everybody would have been better off without me because that's what my mental illness, my disease was telling me. Working to try to help myself get to a better place is what I do daily. I'm not a coward. I'm brave. I'm brave because guess what? I got through today. Today. Tomorrow's another day. It's not cowardice. It's an illness. And comments like that will keep people from talking.
Be the kind of person.
A minute ago, okay, let me just finish this.
Go ahead.
I would rather talk about this and have a hard conversation than go to anybody I love's funeral. My kids, anybody. That is why I share my story. That is why I put myself in a vulnerable position for comments like that.
Be the kind of person that someone would want to open up to, that someone would feel safe going to, not the kind of person who would use stigmatizing language, who would other somebody else, who would try to shame someone else. Be the kind of person who's open, not closed. And Santiago, I'm calm now. But it's extremely unreasonable, I think, to expect people to be calm in the face of such blatant ignorance. We're allowed to get angry.
Yeah.
People with mental illness are allowed to get angry. We're allowed to express ourselves. And we cannot be placid and even keel 100% of the time. That's not reality.
Yeah. And I think it's important to show true feelings around comments like that, because they're detrimental. And this is part of our societal problem, in tune with religion and everything else. I think I'm going to do something that I do every morning, and I'm probably going to cry while I'm doing it. And it's mostly because of that comment, because, there was a time in my life that I felt like a coward. I felt like that I was nothing, and that the only way to get rid of that pain was to kill myself. I felt like I was a coward, but I realize now that I'm not. It took me a long time to get there, but every morning when I wake up, I say to myself, and I know I'm not trying to plug What Would You Miss, but it's honestly the only thing that gets me through. And I saw a couple comments, and I'm going to explain why. I say to myself, I would miss the way that shower is going to feel when I go and take it. I would miss getting that cup of coffee that I can't wait to pour. I would miss eating Twizzlers tonight. And sometimes they're as simple as that, because guess what? I can't think of anything else I would miss because I'm in such a bad place. In the middle of the afternoon, I'll sit down and I'll say, I would miss putting my hoop earrings in. I would miss putting stilettos on. I would miss making macaroni and cheese, because I have to try to get through the day. And then before I go to bed, I say to myself, I'd miss the way the fan makes its noise to lull me to sleep. I would miss the way my sheets smell a little bit like lavender and eucalyptus all at once. I would miss making my kids breakfast in the morning. That is how I have to get through my day, is reminding myself that there's things about me that I would miss. Because if I don't do that, I will lose sight of it. And if I lose sight of it, I will have no hope. And without hope, I cannot get through the day. That's my faith.
And that's prayer. That is faith. That's one version of it. The same way, there are some people in the Jewish faith who rise in the morning and say the Shema, or they say it before bed. I don't know when the fuck you're supposed to say it. It's before, when you wake up or when you go to sleep. Maybe both. I don't know. But, for AnnMarie, that's her Shema. That's her prayer, right? And that's a holy thing. Yeah. And I'm very grateful, AnnMarie, that you're here and that you're praying in your way, and that you're getting through every minute of every day, however you need to.
Thanks, buddy. I don't know where I would be without you some days. Yeah. Thank you all for joining us today on the Mighty. Next time we're here, I actually hope that there's as much passion and as much voice as right now, because truthfully, it's the only way we'll ever make a difference.
Yeah.
Please tell someone you love today what you would miss about them. Don't let that moment go. I want to leave it with one more thing. 132 people will die today because of suicide. And not one of them is a coward. They were all in emotional and physical pain that they could not bear anymore. It's the final stage of a disease. Please remember that. And
neither are the million of attempters every year.
Yes, please remember that. And I know that none of you would want someone you care about to be one of those 132. Reach out. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.